We are live apparently, so I hope it will all working well. I have a very beautiful lady today. Many of people will call her bread lady because she, oh my God, she is like box of knowledge about bread. And her name is Patricia. And I would like to ask you, Patricia, what is wrong with bread today? Why people are scared to eat it, and what we can do about it?
That's a really good question, Rose, and I'm glad you asked it, and thank you for having me on today. So, what is so bad about bread? Well, bread historically, every culture has had their own bread for I don't know
Ages. Yeah,
millennia,
yeah.
millennia. Why all of a sudden are people stopping eating bread? Well, I can tell you several reasons for that. We take commercial bread, for
Mm-hmm.
instance. You look at the ingredients on that commercial bread. It is fortified. So it's fortified with synthetic vitamins. It has, they don't list everything on the label that's in it.
Mm-hmm.
There are forms of plastics in it. There is commercial yeast,
Yeah,
which is not necessarily good. And there are dough enhancers. But if you get down to the main
yeah,
ingredient of wheat, the
yeah.
foundation of the problem is the wheat. First of all, it's not organic. So 60% of the bread in the UK has glyphosate or other pesticides in it. But the
Really?
wheat, but and that's I mean it could be higher. It could be higher. But in the prior to the industrial age, wheat was stone ground.
Mm-hmm.
And stone grinding is a way of removing the outer layers without destroying the whole grain of the wheat so much, and all those elements stay intact. Now wheat is roller milled, and it just squishes
Yeah.
the grain, and then it separates. It just obliterates the good stuff. But they also the kernel in the wheat grain is full of naturally occurring vitamin E. So they remove that because that would go rancid. The bread now has a shelf life probably to infinity because they take out that natural oil. That natural vitamin E oil is sold to the cosmetic industry.
Really?
We should be eating it. We should be
Yeah.
eating it. So, and this, we are partly to blame for this because we like our loaves of bread all looking the same. And when I used to eat commercial bread, I remember, you like, oh, that's nice and soft. Oh, that's a nice soft one. Oh, that's a nice. I was raised eating white bread, so it's a miracle I'm still alive. So that's a big problem with bread today. But another huge problem with bread today is the fact that they do use a commercial yeast, which came about in the industrial age. Prior to that, it was all natural fermentation. Natural fermentation. And
And the bread even smell different. I remember I was born in Poland. We had that bread completely taste, smell, texture of that bread was completely different than nowadays.
it is completely different, and the taste is completely different. I just I found a guy in about 20 minutes from me who teaches 3 sourdough bread workshops. Just had a group in on Monday. So I was just chatting to a friend of mine who came along to that workshop, made the bread. She has a 2-year-old at home. She tries to feed her as much organic as she can.
Yeah.
And I said, how did she like that bread? Because it is a different flavor. She said she loves it. And then she also said she went to a friend's house and was offered white bread and she wouldn't eat it. And this was before she even tasted sourdough. So once you cultivate that good bacteria in your gut and you cultivate that taste, were you raised on that, Rosa? Were you raised on sourdough bread?
Yeah.
See,
I
that's why
think,
you're
I
so
think so.
smart. That's why you're
Uh,
so smart, Rosa. Yeah, it feeds your gut what it needs. And, teaching people how to make sourdough bread is really taking a step back in time when we did things by hand and we did things without additives and we did things more slowly, which is good for your soul, your brain.
oh yes.
During lockdown, stores are selling out of flour because people are starting to bake again.
And let me tell you, that is something what I have in plans for so long. And I will come back to the topic, and will go to Somerset for that reason to go for that workshop, because it's completely different experience when you can do it yourself, and find people who like think in different ways. So thank you for bringing that topic for us, so we can connect people who would like to know more and find out how to do it themselves. So please comment, please reach out to us, reach out to Patricia directly, or ask me. We will tell you a bit more about it. And I would like to have you more here and ask you even more. But before we finish today, because today is like teaser starter to, I hope so, the bigger show, how you actually got into that idea to come back to the roots of making bread on your own.
Well, I've always been fascinated with sourdough bread, and you probably tell by my accent, I'm not from here. So in America, San Francisco sourdough bread is sort of the tradition,
Mm-hmm.
and I could buy really good sourdough bread, but I like making things, and I tried for years and years and years, and I would just end up with doorstops. They were just terrible. So I did learn about 3 years ago. I attended a different workshop and learned to make sourdough bread. It's a very satisfying experience because that dough is alive. It is alive and it moves and it responds. So I very much look forward to baking sourdough bread.
Mm-hmm.
But then I learned about gut health is in the news. Learned about the value of the prebiotics that sourdough bread affords. And then I have friends who are gluten intolerant, and they can eat. Why can they eat my organic sourdough bread
with no problem?
The other? That's a good barometer. Michael, who runs this sourdough bread workshop, is celiac.
Mm-hmm.
This bread,
no problem.
But don't be fooled and go off to the market and buy sourdough bread. They can add vinegar and call it sourdough bread.
Not good.
If you're buying sourdough bread, ask how long it's fermented. It needs to be at least 24 hours. Mine is fermented for 3 days.
Oh, okay.
So, and I can come back with loads of recipes and things that you can make with sourdough starter as well.
Brilliant. I told you, she is really box of knowledge. Thank you so much for time. You got us, and definitively you get me interested, and I believe other will want to know more as well. But today, thank you so much for your time, and thank you to you all who were watching and who commenting, and see you soon. Bye.